it's Heather here with Underwater Panther, and today I'm going to be continuing the Aquarius or Intj summary video, but I know this is going to be a long one, and I'm probably going to have to chop it up a little bit, so I am speaking on the ego of the Aquarius, astro-psychological style. And so I'm going to be breaking down the 4 parts within the ego. I am breaking this up a little bit different. I think that the modern day age, we are saying that Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and then co-ruled by Uranus. But in my opinion, due to combining both astrology and psychology, I will stand by Aquarius being ruled by Uranus with the introverted intuition in the hero position, and then Saturn with extroverted thinking in the parent position. So I'm going to be breaking down each of those sections. So I'm going to be starting with the hero cognitive function within the Aquarius ego. So what does the hero represent? The cognitive attitude of the hero function within the ego. Keywords is bravery, conviction, courage, determination, helpful, honesty, inspirational, moral integrity, protective, self-sacrificing, selflessness, strength, competent, and confidence. So when an Aquarius is in the hero cognitive function within their ego, those are words that encompasses how they are acting. So we have introverted intuition in the hero position. So what is introverted intuition? So it represents willpower, the future for self, and one's own fate. This is the Aquarius and Pisces. They both have the introverted intuition and the hero cognitive function. So the hero, I'll break that down a little bit more, is the first gateway of the mind and the 4 sides. So we have the ego, which is broken down into the hero, parent, child, and inferior. And then you have the subconscious, unconscious, and superego. So the hero doesn't start to develop until after the id or infancy stage, when we know what we want and our basic needs. So as we interact more in the world in beta waves, do we develop the understanding that others have needs and desires and that we cannot be fully selfish. So we are born into our id and our animalistic natures, and then around 1 year old or so, we start to develop our hero cognitive function within our ego. So, it is the ego's job to meet the needs of the id while taking into account the reality of our situation. The ego isn't fully formed until adolescence. The hero is our strongest, most dominant, and well-developed function. It is our flow state. Consciousness itself is order, and we are conscious because of the ego. The ego creates order. Consciousness, the ego is always challenging the chaos. So, our entire ego is the hero, parent, child, and inferior, and that is how we organize the chaos and understand the world that we are in, as well as ourselves and others. So the hero is linked to the inferior cognitive function. The hero feels obligated. What happens to the hero happens to the inferior function. We need to develop the parent function within our ego for a sense of responsibility, and the inferior function if we want to gain higher levels of consciousness. We have to get our hero together in order to make our lives flow smoother, but the hero has inherent pride. The hero is prone to getting stuck in extremes, so it can take over our ego in a sense, and we can be very autopilot or unconscious to the fact that our hero within our ego is on autopilot like it is. So yes, it is our most dominant, what we are best at, but we can also go into autopilot and be totally unconscious of what we're doing here. So do be aware of that. So introverted intuition, what is it? It is a subjective perceiving or taking in or retrieving of information. Pisces and Aquarius are perceiving dominant, therefore they gather information before deciding what to do. So they are not initially trying to control their environment. I am a very perceptive person. I prefer to be at the back of the room by the door. And we are like observers. We like to observe people, pretty much. People, things, and whatnot. So the introverted intuition and extroverted sensing is on an axis. You will always find introverted intuition with extroverted sensing. So NI users find stability in imagination and explorers with extroverted sensing. So the SE is how the Aquarius and Pisces gains context. And that is by meeting and experiencing people, places, and things. So introverted intuition stabilizes the abstract. So does narrowing down of information. NI hero causes one to need freedom in their thoughts and actions, never want to be locked in or told what to think or do. So Pisces, Aquarius, and definitely Sagittarius, which is like the external version of a Pisces, they all have freedom issues. They do not like to be boxed or caged in within their thinking, feeling, or even physical body. So NISE users have chaotic physical lives, while NESI users tend to have chaos in their heads. Introverted intuition represents willpower, the future for self, one's fate. It apprehends ideas, patterns, and perspectives that emerge after processing from within. So Pisces and Aquarius are very reflective. They are introverted, so they are responsive, and they're always internalizing and sifting through their thoughts and feelings. So introverted intuition is focused inwards on the internal world of thoughts, ideas, and concepts, as opposed to an extroverted function, which is focused on the world that is external to the mind, the real physical world. So NI focuses on conclusions rather than ideas. It goes from holistic ideas to reducing things down, so it is a reductive way of thinking. NI surveys a vast portion of the mind, and when a correlation is perceived, the NI user locks on. NI is very surface level because it sacrifices depth and intensity to breadth of scope. The conclusions the NI users reach can be very deep and detailed. It relies on assumptions, hypotheses, and generalizations in order to fill in the gaps of perception. So that is the facts. Generalizing is like hypothesizing and theorizing. It can tend to make wild leaps in assumptions in order to compensate for their lack of detail. So NI is hypothesizing and theorizing, playing with ideas, and extroverted sensing in the inferior represents the physical details and facts of any given situation. So for a lazy intuitive, it is easy to make a vast sweeping blanket statement and leave context and circumstances out of the picture because they are unwilling to face the details. They don't realize, NI users don't realize they're trying to make life too predictable, but only because they won't come to terms with the details. The ignorance is bliss. So Pisces and Aquarius tend to walk around with rose-colored glasses on and are totally blissful when they're younger. I admit that. It can be a low-resolution perception of the internal world, yet they still gravitate towards the profound and unraveling complex issues. NI users are still highly aware of the details being there, even if they are not choosing to zoom in on them because they're being lazy. So others, like SI without activated NI, can be totally unaware that the details are even there, so they need perspective. NI without an activated SI relies on generalization in order to blind oneself to the discrepancies. So SI, or introverted sensing, without introverted intuition, relies on a narrow and fixed tunnel vision within the mind that never has to contend with a vast array of discrepancies that are beyond the focal point. So ENFPs, INFJs, So Scorpio and Pisces, they have TI and a objective generalization. They tend to generalize objectively with their TI. And then ENTPs or Libras and INTJs, Aquariuses, they have a subjective generalization with their FI.